Welcome, everyone. I would say good morning because that's where it is at my time, but of course, we're calling from all over the place. So, good day, I guess I'll say. So, Doug DePeppe, we're here to talk about the risk of AI, AI and cybersecurity. Uh, AI is all over the news right now. It's all over the internet. It's omnipresent, right? And so a lot of risks, a lot of uses with it, but also a lot of risks. And we're here to talk about at the intersection of cybersecurity, how to manage that risk and what you should be considering. So that's the topic for the day. Quickly about me, was first involved with IR Global 2017, have been a partner since 2018. OnCall Cyber is the partner with our global. It's a cybersecurity readiness platform, essentially combining legal incident response and also available cyber insurance. We've got some of our partners or the prospective partners that we're talking to. So OnCall Cyber is it's sort of a bundle of having your key partners on speed dial, and we're broadening out the geography of where we're offering services. So we're really pleased that Cristina and Therese are on as well today, as we look to introduce OnCall Cyber in the European market and beyond. I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. And then also on the East Coast, Mike Battistella is out of New Jersey. He's a partner and a provider, and that's the opportunity for our global. If you're interested in OnCall Cyber, either as a user or also a partner. And Christina and Therese are aware of that. We're having those talks. So I gave a little bit of my background in terms of OnCall Cyber. I do see a number of folks that I recognize, others that are new. So I wanted to mention what our OnCall Cyber is about. Please reach out to myself. Also, we have Jim Heidman and Janet Goshi. You can chat with them. They're also part of the OnCall Cyber team. But let me allow the other panelists here to introduce themselves. Mike, why don't you go ahead and start?
Sure, Mike Battistella, Solutions Cubed. We are a cybersecurity and an IT service management company, bringing those two areas of focus together. Heavy on the governance, risk, compliance. We're really focused on moving GRC, governance, risk, compliance, to GRAA, governance, risk, assurance, and accountability. And I'm sure we'll be talking a little bit about that today. Thank you, everyone.
And I think most of you that have been with our global know Christina. She's a member, but Christina, please do an introduction.
Thanks, Doug. Yes, I've been a member since a year after you, 2018, and I'm in Sweden, so I'm saying good evening soon. But I'm in a law firm called Case IQ, but we also have sort of three parts in Case IQ, where one of them is also development of compliance and security techniques. That's why we're talking with OCC a lot. So that's my short introduction.
Okay. Teresa?
Yes. Oh, lovely to be here today. Thank you for the possibility to be on this panel today. Therese Naess, I have a background within the law enforcement as well as the Swedish Security Service. And lately I was director of the National Cybersecurity Center. And after that, I'm now associate with working with Cristina, among other things. I'm looking forward to participate in this panel today, and also to work with our colleagues within the OCC, of course.
Okay. So the way that we'll kick this off is I wanted to set the stage for the adversarial AI use case. What is happening? How threatening? How prevalent is it? So I'll start with a matter that was in the news a couple of months ago. happened in November, although the news really picked up on it in December, so not very long ago. Um, Anthropic, which is an AI platform, commonly known as Claude, and then within Claude, there's different versions. So Claude Code was circumvented. Its controls were circumvented by a Chinese hacking group. The attack is known as GTG, Golf Tango Golf 1002. So GTG 1002 was a Chinese hacking group that tricked, used human engineering techniques like are commonly used in cyber attacks to make Claude Code believe that they were engaged in penetration testing, a common cybersecurity service. And because there are controls, I've attempted as well, and others have, can you circumvent, can you trick AI to engage in nefarious, activities? And generally, in my experience, it doesn't allow that for, for legal reasons and otherwise. So that's a good thing. Well, they were able to trick it into creating an automated attack system. And this went on for a little bit of time before Claude detected it. The attack compromised over 30 organizations, large, some of them large organizations, and the success of it, the nature of the attack is that they tricked Claude Code to automate the different stages of an attack. So the way that there's different types of attacks, we know business email compromise, malicious code, there's all kinds of phishing, there's different ways that adversaries get in, and then how do they exploit their access? What's their fraudulent scheme, right? But there is a modality, a method of reconnaissance, getting access, maintaining access by migrating or moving laterally. I mean, the idea if they get in, they want to be able to maintain their presence in order to execute their attack. And so within that methodology of escalation of privileges and different things that they do, there are steps, right, that the attackers engage in. Well, GTG 1002 automated somewhere 80 to 90%, and also the ability to use polymorphic coding, meaning that the AI platform, the automation can adjust to detection techniques and technologies because they don't want to be discovered. So the part of an attack where humans engage, and that there's reasons for that, but it's at human speed, right? About 80 to 90% of the attack was fully automated. And so now we're talking about an attack at machine speed, machine capacity, and so the efficiencies, the speed of the attack is greatly increased, which is really frightening, right? So a couple of takeaways from that. One, it just happened, and a month or so ago. So it's not a hypothetical thing. Secondly, and I know Therese and Mike may know as well, there are legitimate organizations that are we're all looking to use AI, right? So penetration testing, pen testing organizations are pretty universally looking to incorporate AI. And so I just described GTG 1002, which was a circumvention of Claude Code. It was not a purpose-built attack engine. You can all expect it. It already exists that automated attack is a thing. It's already happening because pen testing organizations are using it for legitimate purposes. You can bet that with 80 to 90% efficiency, that the bad folks are already using it for automated attack, which is frightening, right? Machine speed, machine capacity. So I wanted to set the stage that this is real, this is happening. What can you do about it? And at OnCall Cyber, OCC, as our colleagues have referred to it, we have a phrase: you don't have the time, you don't have the team. Meaning, it's time to have that speed dial relationship, have your capability in place with trusted colleagues that know your environment. That's a phrase that we developed before attack AI. It's ever more important now. So let's get into it and let the panel kind of talk through some of the risks here. Mike, I'll start with you. Obviously, things with AI have fundamentally changed, right? So if you can talk a little bit about how adversarial AI changes the traditional cybersecurity threat model, and what organizations can do about it.
Thanks, Doug. That was really a great overview. What I'll share with the attendees here. We're going to talk a lot about risk, and we're going to talk a lot about the impact and kind of the scary things. And I have people often say to me or ask me, what do you think about AI? Is it good? Is it bad? And the truth is, this is my standard response. In the hands of good people, it's going to do good things. And in the hands of evil people, it's going to do evil things. The strength of AI is unilateral on both sides. So like Doug mentioned, if you look at the 7 phases of the MITRE attack, each phase, there's time invested in that phase. So the bottom line is the amateur hacker has become now the master hacker. And if I were to look at the protect and defend cyber team, the analogy that I typically give here is imagine you're playing soccer or you're playing football and you're one or two individuals. You never have the ball. You're always on defense. And it's unlimited to the number of players on the other side of the team. You are always fighting and trying to do it. So number one, your attack surface has become hugely greater. As a matter of fact, the attack surface is primarily people. And so AI, as Doug mentioned, the speed with which it's going through the various phases of attack. So imagine where, an individual would be in that reconnaissance phase and checking things out and trying to figure out how to deliver the weapon and how to, exploit and maintain and gather information is now happening at the speed of sound type thing. So it's AI speed, not human speed. The other thing that really reinforces this is that AI doesn't get tired. It just goes and goes and goes, and here's the thing. It adapts in real time. It learns in real time. So what didn't work here, it can immediately adjust and try something else. Where with the normal hacker, it's going to take time to, figure out what they need to do. So the bottom line is trust has become the attack surface. So individuals who are interfacing with AI often don't even know they're interfacing with AI. And are they learning is their trust being compromised because they're dealing with it? So the threat model, it's no longer static. It's constantly changing. Your adversary, AI, is adaptive. It's self-improving and it's persistent. So as we look at organizations, Doug, you said what do organizations need to do about it? They need to rethink their cybersecurity programs. It's got to be more focused on the governance, decision authority, operational resilience, and culture. It's not just about tools anymore. It's much more than that. Doug, back to you.
Okay. No, great. And you mentioned governance and overall you talked about risk. Christina, we believe in this model of having different, it's not just a technology issue. You're an attorney. Can you talk about the risk standpoint from a legal lens? What creates exposure from an AI attack?
Absolutely, Doug. I'll do that. And I mean, like Mike was saying here just a minute ago, you have to start with governance and preparedness. because nowadays, you have to know who is responsible and how the decisions are made, especially what happens within the first 24 hours. Technology matters still, but if you look at what courts and regulators are going to look at when it comes to liability, they're going to look at the leadership, especially now. I'm talking mainly from the European perspective, where we just had the new act a short while ago, and it actually came into force in Sweden here just in this January. But lack of preparation and unclear decision making and poor documentation, that's that's the main difference and what creates the exposure after an AI driven attack. So a fast technical response can still cause you a huge amount of legal exposure if you haven't made the decisions coordinated and also documented what has happened. And you talked earlier about also a bit about supplier and things. So, I mean, with the AI, you will inherit even the supplier's breach if you have never asked them about how their responsibility is looking. So
Right. So
that's
what
a
I hear
short
you
way.
saying, Christina, is preparedness, and we've been preaching that, right? Mike, coming back to you on the preparedness and assessing risk, who owns responsibility for risk and managing risk?
And that's a great question for all of us to think about, because the truth is we re AI risk doesn't really have an owner in the organization currently. You're at that gray area where, you've got IT, you've got security, you have legal risk, you have the business. Everybody's touching it, but no one is really accountable at this point. So it's now when you look at risk, uh, IT owns the platform, security owns the controls, legal owns the regulatory exposure, risk owns the register, the business owns the outcome, but no one has that direct authority. So it really has to become its own entity, having somebody who is responsible and accountable for AI risk. How is it going to be used within the organization? What's acceptable, what's not, what data is allowed to come in. As we know, AI is going to grab whatever information. And the important thing for anyone using AI is to understand that AI is programmed to provide a response. It's going to respond. And so understanding that response or where it's gathering that information, it's going to have to be controlled, managed, and governed. And it's going to come back to what is the CIO, the CISO, the COO, what are they determining what's acceptable, what's not? How are we going to establish our government guidelines and guardrails? And then how are we going to enforce it? And oftentimes, and it seems like almost every customer or partner meeting we're having today, AI and AI risk is a hot topic. And so they want to understand, what is it I need to do? How do I need to do it? Well, first they need to, define how it's going to be used. And in that AI policy, like any cyber policy, the policy defines what we shall do and what we shan't do. And that procedural document has to reflect, if I said I shall do it, how am I going to do it? And if I shan't do it, how am I going to prevent it from happening? And those are the things that are happening, because right now it's going to continually go back to the same mantra here. It's not a technology solution. It is a people, best practices, and um, the people process. Technology plays a key part of it, but we have great technology. What we don't have is, and we have great policies and we have great documentation. What we don't have is that assurance that people are following it and they're accountable to make sure that the things we say in our policy and procedures are actually happening.
Okay. Um, so we are going to, as we go through some of these Q&As, get into what can you do, but it's important, why we're starting here is this literacy aspect, or getting your arms around it and not avoiding it. Um, you've got to start somewhere, and it typically does come with governance and getting educated, getting informed, and then start to manage it. Therese, I think we should bring you into the conversation here. Your background with Cybersecurity Center, working on the government side, but working with government with businesses. What's your sense of, in your experience, are businesses coming around, and not just to AI, but to cybersecurity and the need to be prepared? What's your experience been with the acceptance of responsibility?
I'd like to go back 5 years or so, because 5 years ago, you would see companies would see that cybersecurities happened. As cybersecurity incidents, they were a fact, but not yet on everybody's mind. They were something that could happen to you if you were unlucky or if you were unprepared. Today, you see something else. Today, you need to be prepared for that. You will be a target for an intrusion. You will be a target for something will happen to you. The importance is what you do when you are subject to an intrusion or to an attack. I would say that the many incidents that we have seen these last years, and also with the introduction of the AI incidents, I would say that it has greatly increased the awareness in the companies on that they can be targets of an intrusion. But I would say that the preparedness has not followed. Now I think that from a European level, that the directives and regulations that come from the EU Commission, they have introduced that you need to do something. You need everybody knows that they need to do something, but they don't know how to do it, because they get lists and regulations on what they need to do, but the how and how you actually introduce it into your business is another thing. So so that I would say they have a knowledge that they need to do something, but how do you prepare yourself from an attack is not there yet.
And from the European perspective, it tends to be more compliance driven than the US market approach. What is happening on the compliance side in the European market?
The European Union has introduced a number of regulations. They have a Cyber Resilience Act that has set the digital operation resilience for essential and important sectors. They also have introduced a regulation for the financial sector that regulates and prepares the financial sector for intrusions. They have, and most important, I would like to emphasize the NIS2, the NIS2. That was a director that was introduced 2 years ago and has now been introduced into national legislations almost all over Europe. And the NIS2 is emphasized to strengthen the cybersecurity requirements for essential and important sectors all across the European nation. And it's also ratified, as I said, by the different national governance in Europe. And I think as Cristina said before, we have, from a Swedish perspective, that directive was introduced in Swedish legislation just a week ago, and puts a lot of, it also emphasized the responsibility for the management level, and with great economical risks if they don't follow through the legislation.
Yeah, and I'll just mention before, I've got a Christina follow-up question for you on EU, but in terms of new laws in California, risk assessments, which arguably would include AI risk, that just went into effect risk assessments just went into effect January 1st here as well, at least in the California market. So there's growing sense of growing compliance requirements globally. Um, Christina, with IR Global members, many of them being smaller businesses, could you talk a little bit about the compliance environment and the impact on small business about cyber risk?
Yes, absolutely. I'll do that. Sorry, I was just checking that the microphone was on. Well, it's a difference in what the type of discussions you have nowadays with the smaller business. I feel within Europe because it's not a discretionary IT issue anymore. This is a regulated operational risk actually for a company. So the test after an incident is how was the organization reasonably prepared given what they knew about it. So you don't need what I'm saying to smaller or what we're talking about in Europe as is for smaller companies is you don't have to be a perfect when it comes to security, but you need to have defensible decisions. And how do you do that? Well, we talk about that you should have on a board level a cyber discussion regularly, at least annually. And you should also have how you document this risk acceptance. And also that you name your incident decision makers in the company so that everyone knows that there is a person. That's I would say that we're dealing with it with smaller companies in Europe.
And I'm going to mention something that you mentioned. We're going to reinforce it, Christina, about supply chain. And I mentioned risk assessment, and you're talking about managing risk, identifying risk. That supply chain piece is often overlooked, and supply chain attacks are happening all the time. So I'm just emphasizing, the risk assessment piece um, that companies need to think about the risk presented by their supply chain and contractual aspects. Can you manage or direct certain things through contractual because that risk affects your organization. Those connections you have, are regulated, or there's a transactional component which you might be able to utilize. Um, Therese, let me just come back to you and just ask you about, the before, during, and after aspect. We've been talking a lot about the before and assessing risk. What are the main categories of responsibility before, during, and after an incident?
I'd like to go back to the risk assessment as well, because I think that is without the risk assessment, you are sort of, you are lacking a map, because you need to know what your vulnerabilities are. You need to know what your main assets are. You need to what to protect and what you can actually leave behind, so to say. So I think that the main topic is the risk assessment to do before, to sort of charter what you have. I think that a crucial factor is also the management level. I talked about 5 years before when you thought everybody except the big companies, the global companies, thought of cybersecurity as an IT matter. Today, it is a company matter. And it's also something that needs to be on the management level, being a topic on the management level, that the management level needs to be informed, need to be prepared, needs to put the risk at the right level, to actually be risk managing the cyber security as well. And the management level needs to be trained, not only in managing the company, they also need to be trained in managing cyber related incidents. Technically, I would like to leave that behind, but there are some basic hygienic factors that you need to have in place. And that is also part of the management level, to ask the right questions in the preparedness of preparing the organization. I was talking about training before, training on every level. It's better to have a desktop exercise just to know that everybody knows what to do before and during. as I said, you will be a target of some kind of cyber-related incident, even if it might not affect your organization very in a bad way, or it might affect your organization in a major way. You need to have done the training to talk about what you do when you are target of an incident. And last but not least, I would talk about communication. How do we communicate within the organization? How do we actually address that we are target of an intrusion? And also, how do we communicate externally? Do we have a plan? What do we say? To what level are we transparent? How do we prevent that we are losing trust? How do we prevent that we are losing business? Because this is a trust business. I mean, this matter of trust. I think that these 5 components are something that if you have that in place, I think you are quite well off, even if you are a target of an AI-driven incident.
Okay. I mentioned starting out that we'll get to, and we'll start that now, some practical advice. Turning back to where we started, and it's sort of an obvious question, probably many of you in the audience were thinking, we start out with talking about machine speed and machine capacity, and we got into the starting point and the literacy and how to start managing it. But there's certainly an issue with what's possible when you're combating something at machine speed, and what are some practical things that you might be able to do. Mike, I'm going to have a question for you, but I wanted to point out something that we've learned with OnCall Cyber in all this, and it reinforces the preparedness piece. Is if you think about when you've had an incident and then you start calling in resources, and there's a transactional component and a transactional lag time. And there's a concept in attack, which GTG 1002 really calls out. It's something called breakout time, like the time that an attack goes from the early stages of reconnaissance to initial compromise to actually trying to exploit their access is happening now in hours or even quicker, depending upon the type of attack. It could be minutes. So negotiating, getting quotes and negotiating terms and responsibility. Getting back to the phrase, if you don't have the time, you don't have the team. That's not the time to do it. You need to have this in advance. But Mike, that question of what are you supposed to do when you're combating something at machine speed, the new AI, the adversarial AI risk? Talk to that, the managing risk with that sort of environment in place.
Sure. You hit some points about speed. Doug, I think even in our conversations in the past, I gave you an example where I got pulled in to lead an incident response. The incident happened on a Wednesday. They pulled me in on a Friday, and by the time we got the team together and the legal aspects worked out and rates negotiated, it was the following Wednesday. We lost an entire week. So this is no different. We're dealing in a different time frame. So we have to define things as early as we can so that once an incident happens and we go into our response, we're moving quickly, because I think the bottom line is, and I think it's been a little bit of a theme here, the human-only response models just don't work any longer, right? So you can't outthink AI, you can't outreact AI. You really must governance and automate as much as possible. So when you look at, again, you're back to the 7 phases of the MITRE attack. Any of those phases can be automated: detection, containment, escalation, and even decision support. So as you folks look at your incident response plan and the procedures and steps around it, how can you automate as much of that as possible? And even when you look at the typical decisions that would need to be made during the life cycle of a response. Even when you look at on the IT side, IT service management, change management, certain changes and change categories are defined as standard changes. They don't need some heavy duty approval cycle. You've got to do the same thing with your incident response plan. You've got to not only automate, but you have to predefine what decisions can be pre-authorized so that now we don't have to escalate and take time trying to get authority to sign off on it or whatever. The exercises, the tabletop exercises, they've got to include AI scenarios. Absolutely have to. They have to have things like deep fake fraud, AI generated phishing, synthetic identity attacks, those things that are help organizations recognize that AI is in the picture and something's not right. And truthfully, when you look at governance and controls, speed now has to become a control. How quickly are we responding? What does our response time look like? Speed as a control is now as important as firewalls and endpoint protection.
Okay. That use of AI, simulate AI to prepare for AI attacks. Therese, I'm gonna violate the rules of questioning. I'm gonna give you a two-part question.
Let's play two goals.
Oh, hold on a second. I got some background.
Doug, did you just have a cyber attack? He's laughing at me, but
No, I had a little bit of a background, something playing in the background. Sorry about that.
it's fine.
Therese, two-part question. What are the attack types that, companies small business need to be concerned about? And then what are some of the main ways to prepare against an attack?
I'd say that the small businesses, I think you need to look inwards. It's still people we're talking about. You can have all the all the technical preparedness, but you have the people that work in the organization as well as your supply chain working with you as well. So we're talking about people. We need to educate the people that we work with. And now we're not only talking about pressing the link or something. We have the deep fakes. We have everything that we need to be aware of. So I think in the education of our employees, we need to include, as you said, Mike, we need to include the AI. We need to include the AI not only when talking about our employees taking part in the social media, but they also need to include them into the working life. Not clicking on wrong links, not knowing that the face they might see, the contact they might have, could be part of an AI intrusion or attack. So I think that is one of the first actions I would recommend is to look inwards and talk to your employees. And when you talk about tabletop exercises as well as things, you need to include your employees in that, in thinking that your cybersecurity organization is not only the IT and the management level, it's the entire organization, that everybody is part of your cybersecurity operations. And then I would like to go back. If you look, go back to what I said before, because the actions to prepare yourself is the risk assessment, to know what you need to protect, to know what your assets are and what you need to protect. It might be an easy question for the management level, but when you start to dig into it, the questions might be deeper and harder than you might have expected before. And then, of course, I would like to go back to the plan for communication, of course, and to go back to the basics in protecting your IT environment, etc., in communication with your IT department. I might have forgotten something, but I think that those are the main topics as well. Mike?
Mike, let's talk about we've been talking about risk assessment, supply chain. What about AI use in your supply chain? What are your responsibilities there? How do you manage that risk?
Well, I think the real issue is a realization that most vendors, often vendors, are embedding AI into their solution. It could be a solution that's being provided, or it could be, documentation that's being created. It could be interfacing with customers or partners, but vendors and suppliers are using AI more and more and more. Mostly often because of the lack of governance, there's no clear disclosure of what they're using, what they're embedding, and how they're using it. Often they don't have any kind of governance documentation that they can provide. So we interfacing with our supply chain have to demand more transparency. Is AI being used? How is it being used? What reach or touch does it have within my organization? Because what AI is doing is it's expanding the risk surface exponentially from supplier to consumer. So we've got to get to that point again where we said we can't outrun it, we can't outthink it, we can't outplay it, but we have to outgovern it. So we have to establish governance on how it's not only going to be used within our organization, but how it's going to be used within our supply chain. And I believe that we're already seeing it. And Doug, I know you're seeing it, where contracts are now beginning to have AI accountability clauses, or we're going to start seeing lawsuits where, because of a deepfake, and Doug, for the audience, Doug and I just went through this with, a potential supplier of a client of ours, where AI was in play, and the bad actor was basically getting the other company to send out money to somewhere that it wasn't supposed to go, and whatnot. So I think we're going to see not only more contractual obligations with AI reporting, but also penalties if AI has been used within an organization and or our supply chain, and the client, the consumer has been compromised through that. And so, if a vendor can't govern their own AI, and this is something just for folks to think about, if they can't govern their own AI, I'm assuming that they can't govern or manage their own risk either. And so that risk that they're carrying, Teresa, I believe you said it, that risk that they're carrying is now part of your ecosystem, and you're at risk for it. So really working with organizations to build a strong third-party risk program is really key. And I'll also say, as we talk about, I heard awareness training a number of times. It's funny when you look at awareness training programs, and maybe this is a good topic for a different question, but I'll just throw it out now since it's on the tip of my tongue. When we do awareness training, you're looking to really train and make your employees and team members aware. And too many organizations, they'll go through the checkbox training. Okay, we did the training every year. We do this training. How many times can you train or educate or communicate, have a strong password, and don't click on this link, right? What value is that time and time and time again? Let me ask you this. When you know what the threat is, what's the current threat out there? Shouldn't we be training the team members and employees on how to recognize that threat, how to respond to that threat, and how to communicate or escalate the fact that that's going on? So really, we have to rethink even our awareness training, that we're always looking to give a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, but we have to build in the current threat, how to recognize it, and what to do once you see it, and how to escalate. And I think that becomes part of a strategic risk management, not only awareness training program, but part of the risk management. It's really risk mitigation, right?
I'll mention one as well, an example of risk assessments. We've been harping on that, but also the exposure, the potential risk that you face if you've not conducted an adequate supply chain risk assessment, which is one area that we see AI being used routinely is in HR and employment applications, right?
Mm,
And some of the AI, I've seen some of the AI uses, the terms, there's profiling. I mean, one platform projects how useful the employee will be. So problematic from a privacy standpoint, right? And so what's your responsibility? What's your company responsibility? Not just you're directly using that platform, but if your supply chain is using that and you have to do a risk assessment, how far down does that go? So again, it's just preparedness and understanding, having literacy around AI, how it's being used, and assessing its risk. Um, Christina, we also talked about deep fakes. You brought it up, Mike's, I think everyone's mentioned it. Talk about deep fakes from a legal standpoint, please.
Yes, well, I mean, obviously, assume everyone knows that they're here to undermine every identity control that you could have. So I think the regulators are actually looking into now to have increasingly doing layers of verification. And I also think that you have to be, again, you're back to what Mike has said and Therese and Doug. You have to train your own staff. You have to look into your own company so to teach them on how they can rely on how these people are, who are they talking to? And if they feel that they are secure in by what they see or what they hear, well, I can say that the EU legislation is moving further than that, past that assumption. So there will be changes even in that aspect, I
If
would
you
say.
could offer something simple for SMB, small, mid-sized businesses to do in preparation, do you have one or two or some suggestions?
Well, you can talk about, like Mike said and Teresa, we all have said here many, many times now, is that you can have a plan and you should have a plan. You should have a plan that involves both technical, legal, but also the leadership. But the most important thing, I think, is that you have to have the dialogue with everyone employed, because it's not only the awareness of where the regulation is or the policies, what they say within the company. You have to make sure that everyone really understands what these rules are about and what they entail for each one in each role. And that's one of the biggest things we talk about to smaller businesses now, because that's a fairly easy way to try and start this process.
Mike, coming back to you on this notion of literacy, we're talking about advanced technology, AI. You've mentioned different cybersecurity frameworks. It can get technical very quickly, and I'm asking you about literacy. Can you put those pieces of the puzzle together, why literacy is important?
The AI engine has become a human deception engine. And remember earlier I said you have the good side of it and you have the not so good side of it. So the not so good side of it, when you think of uh, AI connecting with me on LinkedIn, AI sending me a message, having a conversation with me, sending me an email, and we're having a dialogue. Uh, the video, the voice replication. We're at the point now where we're starting to see it, where my avatar, like right now, the audience here doesn't know, am I a real person or am I just my avatar because I had another meeting to be at? Right. So it's getting so realistic. So the traditional methods of literacy don't work anymore. We really have to teach our employees and our team members how to understand what an AI fake is, a deep fake is, how to recognize it. What are the indicators? And it's getting so good that that's getting even more difficult. We have to educate them so that you know we have in the technology area with cyber we have zero trust, right? And I say to my partners and my customers plenty of times, I love you, but I don't trust you. I can't, right? Because if you're compromised, you may not have the ability to prevent me from being compromised. So we have to adopt that zero trust. So knowing what the AI fakes are, what the intent is, the approaches, we have to have specialists that are tied to our organizations that understand AI at a level that we don't, and that they can educate us as leaders on how to recognize those kinds of things so that we can then educate our employees and members. This really is focusing, taking us to a whole new level where AI literacy is going to be like a control, just as much as MFA is a control, just like endpoint protection is. We're going to have to educate our employees to know and to recognize, and so that they can have zero trust as well. And if there's anything that doesn't seem right, they've got to have leadership understand that that employee needs to be able to come to us and say something doesn't feel right about this. And I can't respond with, "I don't worry about it, it's fine." No, we need that PO to go out. No, we need that payment to go out. We've got, as leaders, we have to understand that the the average employee is not necessarily going to know. And they've got to be able to, if they come to us 90 times and it's not an issue, well, 90 times we had to spend a little bit of time hearing what they had to say and kind of guiding and coaching and validating. But it only takes that one time that they didn't come to us because we showed impatience or we weren't interested or we were too busy to have that conversation. And then they come to us that one time that we needed to respond and we needed to not allow the AI attack, and we missed that opportunity to protect ourselves. So really, literacy becomes much more important, and it's got to become much more of the culture within our organization if we're going to fight this and protect ourselves.
So we want to leave a few minutes here for questions. Go ahead and raise your hand or unmute yourself if you have a question, or you can put it in chat. While we're waiting, I will reinforce or mention if you don't have the time, you don't have the team. Like this whole conversation was about preparedness and the literacy, the supply chain, the risk assessment. The phrase that I think Therese mentioned that's a common one is it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. That's the world we live in, and so preparedness. Take the time now to get prepared. Do we have any questions?
Yep, feel free to just put your virtual hand up.
Or I will pick on you.
Okay,
We don't know whose hand it is.
I'm
Yeah.
really sorry. I don't have a camera on, but let's say I have sort of a question. As Therese mentioned, education is critical, I think. Like in practice, I used to work, my company in South Carolina was a victim of like an theft. Now, attackers rarely start by targeting CEO. They usually, every organization is compromised through the weakest link, right? I think so. Now, guys are experts. So, most attackers succeed by exploiting employees in so called, let's say, lower or non technical roles. I mean, we are here, so that kind of means that we are aware of danger and everything. So they're not gonna attack any of us. They're gonna attack people that are not here. Actually, they are that weakest link. So that raises like the real challenge: how to deliver effective, like large scale security awareness training, like how to do that, and what are the requirements, and plus As Doug mentioned, problem is also time. Like, should we skip certain steps or not? Because I attended like maybe 20 trainings like on cybersecurity and stuff, and they're pretty much all the same. They're talking about don't click on this, don't click on that, and it's just old school, like 20 years ago. So now we need to educate people about AI, and they didn't even overcome like the previous steps. Should we skip those steps? What are we supposed to do? How to educate those like weakest links? How
Right.
to
Uh,
strengthen?
I'll start, and then if any of the team has a follow on. So change happens from leadership, and so that yeah, there's the training. Part of your question, who is being targeted? It really just depends on the attack type and the opportunity that the attackers see. But managing change, leaders can affect that. Leaders have to take responsibility for this. So it may be starting with the IT manager or the CISO or the CIO to form a a cybersecurity team, leadership team, or maybe the CEO is concerned, but you've got to get on a operational cadence where you're having meetings. No one likes meetings, right? But the education part is starts with having someone responsible and having dialogue and starting to educate, because there are risks that are in large measure unknown. So there's the data broker environment, right? You mentioned about who's being targeted. There's so much identity data that data brokers have assembled that attackers use that to help with deep fakes or to fully know the the personality, the details of individuals in order to better exploit them through human engineering. So to cut this long-winded answer short, it's time for organizations to form working groups, and to have regular meetings and start to identify priorities and plans of action in order to improve the literacy and start to go from literacy to action. Anyone yeah, Therese.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why the European Union has emphasized the management level. I will just copy on you, Doug. There is a reason why they're pointing the finger at the management level, because it is a matter of culture. It is a matter of the management level not delegating to the IT level, because this is something that concerns the whole organization. And I think, and I totally agree with you, Milos, that we have enough of exercises and courses and talking about not to click on the link, etc., because you need to know why you shouldn't do that, and you need to know what do I do when I click on the link, because everybody does that. We just need to realize that we need to prepare ourselves for what we do when we have clicked on the link or when something has happened. And is it easy? Do I know what to do? Is it permitted to raise your hand and say, I think I have recognized a breach, even if you're and that would be if you are in the financial department, if you are on the administrative level, or if you are the CEO, because the CEO is also the target of a breach. So I think that we need to go further than just saying, having the clicking in the box for the management level saying that everybody has gone through a cybersecurity course. We need to look into what the courses are, what they're there for, and we need to include them into the sort of the overall maturity movement within the organization. As we're talking about developing new products, this is part of our product, the culture product, the culture, knowing what to do, and also to have an environment where you do not get fired when you have clicked on the wrong link.
There's a question that I put a quick answer. There was a question in the chat box about, an AI policy, a framework. I responded that the laws are actually useful to start with as well. And it gets back to risk. It's what are the high risk decisions? What are the high risk computing that needs to be focused on with respect to AI? But anyone else have a comment?
Yeah, Doug, I wouldn't mind just chiming in on this one because I'm kind of passionate about it. The awareness training of the past, where organizations would do one or two sessions a year, it just becomes that obligatory thing that they have to get through. They don't pay attention to. They already know the answers to it because they've been through it a dozen times. That doesn't work. Even the awareness training programs that platforms that are out there, which I won't name vendors, but we set up ours where you're getting a short 3 to 5 minute training video with check knowledge check verification and things like that, a couple times a month. Anyone can sit through 3 to 5 minutes a couple times a month, top of mind, as they like to say. But even that, it can get repetitive. So you need to build a program that's building on top of, so you're starting out with the basics. Somebody onboards, they get the basics. Teresa, you just mentioned it. If they just, you're just talking about passwords and links and, social attacks. You, they've got to understand what the business risk is and the role that they play. So being aware that this organization has digital assets. If the bad actor gets access to those digital assets, it doesn't just affect the business, it affects you and your job. And oh, by the way, if they get our PII information, it affects your credit, it affects your mortgage. The team members have to understand that what happens with the business can happen to them personally as being tied in. So that's a really important thing. And what I'll share with you is if you look at the NIST publication 850, it lays out what a cyber awareness training program should be, what the cadence should be, what the areas should be, and it really talks about a lot of the things that we mentioned. It's far more than just let's just do some basic training. It really gives you the details of how to establish a strong awareness training program that builds on itself. Is it role based? Are your technical people getting the same training as the sales and marketing people? Are the executives getting the same training as the administrative staff? When you're looking at compliance, compliance requires that you have role-based training. It's updated regularly. It is mapped to what the current threat is out there. And how are you adding okay, so I've got a vendor that's providing me great training, but is it customized for my business, right? So you really have got to take much more into account to put a strong training program together. And let me close with this because I know that we're short on time, but we talked a lot about risk and we talked about, who owns risk. And the bottom line, I want to leave the group with this. If everyone owns AI risk, no one owns it. And governance has to turn into a shared responsibility to make sure that you have real accountability. And so the bottom line here is if AI risk doesn't have a named owner, regulators will assign one after an incident. So I just want to leave you with that because that's how critical it is. I'm sorry,
Can I?
Christina.
No.
Yes.
Sorry. I just wanted to add something again, going back to the management, because I think as well one of the management issues that hasn't been really addressed, at least not what I've seen so far and what I've heard in Europe, is that we tend to use one size fits all for all our protection instead of actually going through what do I have that needs to be protected, and where is the employees and what do they have access to, because I think you could also customize your training a bit so it doesn't become this don't click on the link issue every month.
This is new. Anything that's new, you can expect change. It's going to, and so the notion of the easy button, I just need an easy, it needs something, it's not applicable here. It's really going to be a management effort to grow literacy and to understand the risk from that literacy in order to start to manage it. So we can expect that what is recommended today is likely to change tomorrow, so to speak. It's a very fluid environment. This is all new. So with that, I'll turn it back to Charlotte to close out. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Hope you found it useful.